There's something that I discovered that I didn't know I need to discover just a few weeks ago. See, last month in September, I went on a little bit of a holiday trip around Australia. I flew to Perth, to Broome, Kununurra, Darwin, Cairns, also Brisbane, and then finally Gold Coast, and then back here to Sydney. Now, just to let you know, this is a little bit different to my usual string of things that I do. I normally fly back and forth between Sydney, Melbourne, Sydney, Melbourne, Sydney, Melbourne, Sydney, Melbourne every month. I run social and business events in Sydney and also social and business events in Melbourne. And I've sort of like got it down to a routine. I run events so regularly. I know what I'm doing several months in advance because I've got a plan worked out for all of that. I don't sort of second guess where I'm going. Yeah, there is a little bit of variation that I do with things according to the different seasons or the weather and so forth, and different small changes that happen naturally between running my events between the two capitals. But one thing that I realised when I went on this trip around the country, and it was partly a business trip, so essentially I did meet up with one of my mentors, which was Sarah Cordner, who is at Broome, and as a direct result of that, I was able to ask a few questions. Secondly, I also had at the same time, on Thursdays and Fridays and so forth, there's regular class groups that I'm in online with a couple of other mentors, and I was able to get one thing that I was missing just by being in my routine of being Sydney, Melbourne, Sydney, Melbourne, Sydney, Melbourne. And that thing actually is clarity. I had a few niggling questions in my mind for quite some time about my business, and I really needed some time away. Now, normally if I need some time away, I'll probably grab the train and go up to Katoomba or Uluru or something like that and just spend a weekend there, and I may actually be doing some writing whilst I'm away up there. But this was different. I didn't realise just how much clarity that I could actually get. And just to show you what it is, like the discussion that I had in Broome, I put down to primarily some initial notes. And then what happened the very next day? Well, the moment I got on the plane, I started writing out a whole string of notes, and then I started writing out some more notes after the plane took off from Kununurra, because it was essentially a stopover. And I got down here a lot more notes than, look, normally I would go to a cafe every day and I'll jot down a few things that I'm doing and what I'm doing for that week. But you've heard probably the saying before, working on your business versus working in your business. And if you haven't heard that saying, it's probably worth Googling the term. Working on your business essentially means you're looking on the outside and you're looking at, hey, here's where I can make an improvement here, or here's where I can do the planning differently there. And there were a few key aha moments that came up. And this kept on going and going and going. There's a whole string of different things. I've written out some different matters here. And more importantly, if I look down here, a few days later, it took probably maybe about until the end of the following week, I started to write out a little bit more detail as to what I was doing with my online courses. And also this gave me a little bit more of a picture also, like a 40, as I would say, the 40-foot view or the helicopter view of your business. So here I was able to get down to looking at what I was doing with my business and saying, well, here's where I'm going, here's where it can be improved, and here's where it's going to be in the future. And if there's one thing that I can say that's very important from doing a holiday, it's that if you get this kind of clarity, and then it's a lot easier to dive into what you're doing and say, hey, wow, here's what I can do, here's where I can go. And, I boiled it down to some more, like important little things that I need to do on a week-by-week basis, and like key things that actually have to be achieved. And so, well, okay, I've got to do this, and I've got to do this, and here's the plan. And look, there's an ultimate. You might have heard me say before about soft deadline and a hard deadline. Well, I've got a hard deadline of a few things that I need to do by, say, the middle of next month. But if I work hard away enough at it week by week at the moment, I may not get it completely perfect, but there are a few things there in the plan that need to be done. So even if I haven't achieved everything that I was wanting to achieve, I've got the vast majority of it there done. Now, I think that that's the big thing. You won't get all of your plans perfect. And I suppose the other thing is too, you have to give yourself sometimes some hard deadlines in order to achieve something with your business. If you really want to grow, you have to say, well, okay, here's what I need to do. If push came to shove, what could I really do in, say, the next 30 days, and just chase after that. What am I going to do the next 30 days? Or what am I going to do by Friday? And let's chase after that. And give yourself some real hard deadlines. And that's what I've been able to do with having all of this clarity around my business and working out, okay, here's the overall plan, I've put some other different things to it. What do I need to do? How am I going to achieve that? And wow, this really is fantastic. So what I would suggest there is learn from my experience. If you haven't had a holiday in a long time, and let's face facts here. A lot of business people, when they do take a holiday, it's fairly limited. It might be just a day off here and something like that there. It's not really a clean break. And sometimes you need to have that clean break. And in my case, going geographically, a few thousand kilometres, I did something like 9,829 kilometres, on the map, if you look at it on the map of Australia, around the country, which took my brain completely out of my usual routine set of Sydney, Melbourne. And that gave me the clarity, when I was sitting in a hotel room, I was sitting in a completely different cafe, just sort of listening back and thinking, and then jotting those things down and then working out, then literally going to my calendar and making that a commitment that I was going to get something done. It has a big impact. So there you go. I know it's a little bit of a ramble today, but I hope you learned something from my experience here and that it inspires you into action, more importantly. Anyway, I've got some other videos here to have a look at. Please have a look around on my YouTube channel, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. This is David Newton speaking.